Welcome, and thank you for joining us in Season 2 of the Let's Meet the Author show. This is the online show that introduces self-published authors to the world. So let's join in on the conversation with our hosts and guest author.
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Meet the Author. Today we have the privilege of introducing Audrey Williams. Now today she's going to talk about her book titled Unbothered. This book is amazing, but before we get into the book, we're going to go ahead and introduce her. Audrey is not only an author, but this woman has over, 4 albums?
Wow.
She's a writer, she's an actress, she does clothing branding. Not only all of that, but this woman has also sang in the choir for the movie Respect with Jennifer Hudson, that's dedicated to Aretha Franklin. How dope is that?
Yes.
Now, it's such an honor to have you here today. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Audrey, you ready?
Yes, I am.
You talked about in your very first chapter titled Good Enough. Before we dive into that, what made you write the book titled Unbothered?
Well, I'll give a nice chunk of that to my pastor, Prophet Latrey Majors. He prophesied about 1.5 years ago and said, like, it's time to write a book about everything that you've been through. And for me, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I write all my songs, but when you're writing, you're going further into detail. You have to dig into the root of everything. So it's like, are you really ready for God to show you you? That's a prayer that nobody wants to pray. It took about 2 years overall. I took a couple of months and stopping from life happening again within writing. That I got back to it. And while I was on set, I finished the rest of the book, just in hold. I'm like, I'm not just going to sit here to eat snacks. No, before I go back on set, like, no, we're going to just get this stuff done. I had more time to think, so.
Right. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and dive into the book, get to know you a little more, and right? So, starting with chapter 1. You started your book off with questions, but these weren't just like normal questions like, how are you, and things like that. These were like questions that people ask you with like hurtful intent. They ask you things like, why are you looking like that? Or why do you have that on? Or squeeze your nose so it won't spread bigger across your face when you get older. Or like, who did your hair? Or why are you always at church? Like those type of questions, like how did that make you feel and how did you react to it?
I guess the appearance thing, the nose thing was from a family member still living. I don't want to necessarily say who. It wasn't my mother though. Another older family member. She always said, and it's like, how are you saying, like, pull your nose closer? I have the nose of my father. Your nose looked the exact same way. So it's like, how do you look at somebody like, oh, well, pinch your nose and do this? And like, oh, you get like, that's like, you don't say that to a kid. Kids are already kind of like, I don't want to say timid, but they're already like fragile when it comes to everything already.
Absolutely.
When I read that part about, squeezing your nose, I never imagined you would say it came from a family member, yet alone an adult family member. So we don't realize how powerful our words are and the effect that it has on you.
Definitely. And I do want to say, like, I really love your transparency. And in your book, you packed so much. You packed a lot in your book. And I love the way that you arranged everything so that we're able to catch a glimpse of everything without you having to be so full into detail. But everything that you put there all painted a picture. So I want to say thank you for your transparency, because it was able to bring across whatever message you were trying to get across. We felt it through every chapter. And one of the chapters you called Functioning and Dysfunction. Like, I would love for you to expound on that and just touch base on that. Like, what did you mean by the whole concept of functioning and dysfunction? And also kind of elaborate, because you said something really interesting in regards to your mom was there, but she wasn't there, and you felt like you were forced to raise yourself. So explain that to me.
Absolutely. Function and dysfunction. At the time, like I remember said that I graduated when I was 16. So that year, of course, it's my junior year, but my senior year at the same time. And, around that time, I'm supposed to be, applying, not just applying to colleges, but campus tours, all of this different stuff. And it's like, there's no parents there. My father, he lived in Detroit, which is only 35, 40 minutes from Toledo, where I grew up at. But it's like, there was never no relationship there. It was just the presence over his presence. So it was like one parent is doing whatever, just working and just being away. And then another parent, they're traveling and they're working and doing whatever they want to do, and whatever they needed to do at the time. But at the same time, that leaves me in an apartment in the hood by myself, so it's like you're 16 and it's like, I'm applying to colleges. Ain't nobody taking me on no tours. I had to figure that out on my own, figure out about moving when I'm on my own. Like, so it's like, how do you maneuver and you're on your own? There's no guidance for anything. And there's nobody saying, oh, well, as a woman, you need to do this. Men or our father saying, or when you deal with these men, they're going to treat you like this, or you need to not operate like this. Don't say this to a man. Don't act like this as a woman. There was never that period. And it's like, the more you think about it, it's like, how is it possible for you to have a parent in a house and you still raise yourself? People don't understand that's possible.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. You would think like, well, at least, the 2-parent households, you need that. But there's moments you can literally have one parent there and you still have to figure everything out on your own.
You say a one-parent home. May I ask in regards to where was your dad? Because, in the book, you didn't really expound in regards to what position your dad was in your life.
I knew him, but like I said, like present, like he provided his presence over presents, like literally gifts, birthday, Christmas, always, or every little holiday, you always got a card in the mail. Majority of the time it had money in it. But a relationship, nobody told me about men. So now now that I'm older, especially when I see the father-daughter dances, when I see that, it's like, well, I never experienced nothing like that. I don't know what it's like for my dad to even spend that kind of time with me, have a legit conversation with me other than a little bit about schoolwork. So it's like he was around. He wasn't that far in distance, but as far as my life, he was really far. So it's almost like you knew him, but you didn't know him.
Okay.
Like he knew you, but he didn't know you at all.
Talking about relationships for a minute, you talked about your very first love, your sweetheart, your boo thing. And
Squeeze, what is it?
you talked about how he was the first person to show interest in you, to show some type of value. But he ultimately betrayed you. Not only him, but your so-called friend. And she ended up getting pregnant by him, right?
Right.
So how did that make you feel? Like,
stupid and mad at the same time. You gotta think, 6th grade, it's kind of like, a little puppy love, they say, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yes. No, don't put your head down. Yes, a lot of people experience a lot of sexual experiences early then. Even then he was like, oh, well, maybe we can do this, not just kissing. But so it's like, even then it's like they're testing the envelope to see how far they can get with you, but for me, it was like literally everything was church and Barbies and music. So it was like, I'm not gonna do that. What are you talking about? Like, so I had my little standard, back then, but I wasn't gonna push the envelope. But at the same time, even then, what one woman or a girl won't do, another one will. So it's like, you're not gonna do it. Somebody else, whether it's a Becky or a Brenda, somebody's willing to do that. Whatever your first experience was, aside from my father, that was the first other man that I dealt with, other than like a brother or something. So it's like that experience. It was like how your first guy, your interaction was another heartbreak. So it's like the foundation of it started wrong. So after that, it just sees more on top of a wrong foundation. Nobody corrected that, the wrong foundation. So it's when you grow older, you realize you have to pull out the blade and cut the cord of all of that stuff, or it's going to keep producing more of a foul harvest.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back. So let's meet the author.
Hey, thank you guys for coming back and joining back into Let's Meet the Author. I just wanted to go ahead and just jump right back in. Your book is so interesting. Like I said, you packed so much into this book. So thank you for giving us, your vision and helping us to understand who Audrey is. And I know you said this is Audrey Williams Uncensored. So with that, I mean, even in your book, it went from joys to lows. One of them that was like joy, but low, but at the same time it brought some joy, was when you spoke about several times where you thought that you were on your way out, but God kept you. Can you go into, a little bit of that and just explain to us what happened and how that changed you today and the state of mind that you were in? Just speak a little bit about your testimony.
This is in 2013 in January. My eyes was burning, literally, because I wear contacts. I got them in now. But at the time, it was like I went to America's Best, which is where I get my contacts from. And I told the lady, like, well, my eyes is burning. Like, I don't know if I need to, get a new pair or something else. She's like, oh, no. I don't see no infection. Just get some artificial tears. You'll be okay. Next thing I'm at work, and I was like, kids be going like this, like winking one at a time, like little joke and stuff. So I did that, and I realized that when I did that, the other eye was completely black. I told my friend, like, do something in front of me. So I closed my eye. I'm going like this, and she moving. I'm like, I can't see anything. She's like, what do you mean you can't see anything? And I'm like, no, I literally can't see nothing. She's like, you need to go to the hospital. And I drove myself to Henry Ford Hospital. And when I went there, the doctors did a CAT scan, which is crazy. I'm like, in your, spinal tap. And I'm like, all these different, I don't like needles. I got a lot of tattoos, but I don't like just the kind of needles. It's weird. And it was like, they did it, when they did stuff on the eyes, like, we can tell there's nothing wrong with your actual eyes. And they were like, well, it looked like you may have multiple sclerosis, because nothing is for sure. They're making all these assumptions. It looks like symptoms of this. Yeah. It looks like it could be this, but the one male nurse came in like, well, you're not going to die from it. So you should be fine. If you tell me I have an incurable disease, I don't care what it is. And your mind, you feel like you're dying. Mm-hmm. At that moment, it's like, God, why would you allow me to experience this? But it's like every time I have those thoughts, those feelings, it's always a counter feeling with that. It's like, well, why not me? Jesus could have said the same thing. Why me? Yeah. So I always have to switch yourself and now change your perspective. And at the same time, it's like, literally, God don't trust everybody with trouble. So when he trusts you, I don't care how weak you feel, your lowest you feel, he feels and know. Yeah. It's not a question with him, it's a no. That you're strong enough to handle whatever it is. So it's like, why not me? I'm like, okay, well, whatever this is, even though I feel like I'm weak right now. Matter of fact, I can't even see right now. But you have to have the strength that comes out of nowhere, the unmeasurable strength to literally be like, okay, well, you're putting me in this and I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. But I know just like any building that I'm in, there is an exit sign. Mm-hmm. So it's like all this stuff going on. And it's like, I'm like, I needed to write. I had to think about music because I write everything. So it's a song on my second album called Erase. So the lyrics started coming to my mind. It was like, I'm thinking about, these machines, the heart monitors and everything going off. I had the needle still in my arm that was pumping steroids and, through the veins. So I'm just laying there and I'm thinking like, wipe the tears from my eyes, wondering if I'm dreaming. So literally what you were thinking, you started like literally what you was feeling. I started thinking about the words, too many needles and too many machines. Somebody get me out of here. Okay. So it's like you have these things, and it's like the song is like, it's not just talking about like, oh, I want you to just get rid of that or no, but it's like whatever this thing is or whatever, I know that you're more than capable and able to take this away from me. Amen.
Something amazing about that, because when you were talking about that in your chapter, You also mentioned how you were diagnosed, I think you said like 7 years ago, and they gave you medication that you'll need to be on for the rest of your life. But it's been 6 years since you've even taken that medication. So that alone goes to show the power of God. The power is not in the doctors, it's not in the nurses, it's in who we look to our help.
Literally, like everything that I shouldn't be doing now,
You're doing.
I'm doing
Amen.
without assistance. So it's like you driving people around that literally people. First of all, like it's a condition. It's not curable. It is something that it affects everybody differently. It's a muscle disease. Like everybody that if they lose their sight, whichever way they find it, whether it be the right or the left side, everybody don't get it recovered. So that's the first thing for you to even get that recovered. You can literally have the same diagnosis as somebody, but the results can be completely different.
Amen.
And they don't understand who you serve be the difference maker.
Amen.
They don't understand that it's like, I'm not doing anything. I mean, well, your faith can be a little bit differently to somebody else's, but I'm not doing anything differently. But who you serve makes the difference.
I love that throughout your book, like your faith is something that was consistent throughout the entire book.
Absolutely.
Like regardless of anything that you were going through that you touched on, whether you were in the darkest of the darkest, like you still kept your faith. You still spoke about the goodness of God and how God's going to bring you through. And you also showed that even in your mess, he was still there. Like that was something that you were able to get from your book. Like regardless, as long as she was in her mess, he still was there. And then it was just like, okay, God already did everything that he's supposed to do. Now I'm waiting on Audrey. And Audrey knew that, and she kept seeing it. And then when she finally decided to say, okay, God, I'm gonna do what you say, it's like he restored everything. And I love that in your book, you say he's the only one that could bring that time back and put you exactly where you need to be. All that time that everybody think is lost because, you know, you still was in your wilderness experience. And he just looking like, if my baby don't just get it together. But it's like he was able to turn it around and bring you right to where you're supposed to be. And I love that that's a message that you were able to get across. So I honestly want to say thank you. And, you know, one of the things that stuck out to me in your book is when you spoke about once you start to remove certain people from your life, then that's when you finally can heal. Can you just go ahead and just touch a little bit on that and explain how that's actually helped you in your life? How could you help somebody else with that?
My prophet, he helped break this down a lot for me. But like, I love this person, whether it's a sex connection, whatever the connection is, while I'm dealing with this person, for whatever reason, I keep losing every time I gain something. If I get a car, if I get a place, now all of a sudden, when I'm attached to you again, now my money is quote unquote funny. I don't like the term fun. Money's funny. No, it's not. Who would laugh? If somebody said, your money's funny and you started laughing about it, like, no, you know, but no, you know, so it's like your money started being different. You'll start losing places, losing cars, accidents, everything is happening every time I'm attached to this person. But it's literally when you make the decision, when I made a decision to leave the person alone, it's like, okay, I got the townhouse that I wanted. I'm not clocking in nowhere. You know, it's like everything, like you went from your stuff just being in a storage unit to you having more than everything that you even could imagine. You know, so it's like you went from sleeping in a rental car in a hotel parking lot because you didn't want to use your money to do that.
Yeah.
So you having a very place that you wanted to stay at, you know, so it's like it can be a complete 360 when you choose to make a decision. A lot of stuff, you know, yes, you have soul ties, but at the same time, it all starts with the decision. And a lot of people don't want to make that hard decision.
And, you know, touching on everything that you're saying, that actually is going to go ahead and lead us into something because, I mean, this is my favorite too, but I want you to go ahead and touch on it. Your author's pick.
It's now time for Author's Pick.
Chapter 4, Shades of Grey, which is, I'm going to read from page 44. Okay, why aren't you married yet? They'd ask, not realizing that I haven't married anyone because I haven't divorced anyone yet. Do you realize that every time you have sex, you become one with that person? It's not that I wasn't always incomplete. It was that my demons knew his. They weren't competing. They found a resting place. I had to get healed and free from the soul ties before the noose around my soul sends me from hell from the church, or to hell from the church. I must want deliverance, even you. You must desire to live a free life. A bound existence isn't sexy. I am more than stilettos in a bad dress. I had to stop laying down with demons in the bed, but praising and worshiping in the pews. The orchestra between me and the Holy Ghost needed to shift so my soul could prosper and my soul and my flesh could my soul could prosper and my flesh could relax. Don't be afraid to call you out. You aren't the only one and won't be the last. My prayer is that for all of us to cease being comfortable living a shade of gray life. And it stems also from the scripture, James 1:8. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. You don't want to be like people who worry. Though these prayers are not like a wind-whipped waves. There is nothing wrong with a repeated prayer, but learn to not pray and worry. Just as we ought to not repent with the intent to be a repeat offender, whether you know it or not. Even grace and mercy has an expiration date.
I was waiting to clap. Like, that was deep. And you even talked about talking to yourself in the mirror, pumping yourself up, telling yourself to value yourself and knowing your worth, and not allowing anybody to just treat you any type of way. So that alone, that encourages you to, like how you changed your situation. Then I'm a firm believer of you have what you say. So if you say like, oh, today is going to be a bad day, I'm just fed up and nothing is going to go my way, then guess what? Today going to be a bad day and ain't nothing going to go your way. Mm-hmm. But if you flip it to something positive, then your day can have a better outlook. So.
Absolutely. And it touches base into where you were saying in your book, you know, you said something like, and that was the day that I realized I was a pleaser. And, you know, I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, so that's why a lot of things in your life, it was for you to please other people. It wasn't about pleasing Audrey and doing what's best for Audrey. And to be honest, like your story, especially in your last relationship, a lot of women go through that and they're in that same cycle. May I ask like some words of advice that you would give somebody? Because it's easy to say, hey girl, you need to get out that situation. Like, you know, God has better for you. But it's easy to say that, but what actually, like what actually helped you to be able to detach yourself? Because you actually left the person one time at one point, but then he wound up back in the situation again. So like, tell me, how did you finally break that cycle? What advice would you give another young lady that was in your position?
I would encourage you to find the strength to love you enough to know that literally that you for real strength stem from royalty. A lot of times we seek comfort in people. Yeah. And we seek affirmation in people. Once again, it's always going to people, things that are temporal. You know, it's like for me, it's like the guy is like, when I think about what are you offering me? And let us even have a song on, how can you add to me? Ask anybody that and see what they say and watch they look dumbfounded like, oh, wow, I don't know. Right. You can't. You know, so it's like if at the end of the day, whatever, you're not doing nothing but subtracting to me. So you have to get to the position in your life that you literally find the value that you already have in your life and love you enough like I said, for the both of us. Because as long as you are dealing with somebody and it's like, you know what, well, the sex is good. Okay. But after that's over, that problem is still there. Yeah, I'm gonna keep drinking. After you put that bottle down, that bottle is empty. That issue is still gonna be there. Mm-hmm. After that high come down, that stuff is still there. Yeah. At the same time, but it's like you have to find another way. Right. For me, like that's why I said a repeated prayer has never hurt anybody. But repeating the wrong thing has.
True. We're gonna take a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this moment. Don't go anywhere, okay?
Let's Meet the Author is a production of Blue Rock Media, Inc., a nonprofit organization. Blue Rock Media, Inc. is dedicated to introducing you to self-published authors that have yet to be discovered by using social media as our platform. That's how you're watching the show now. This is exciting because you are now able to support the Let's Meet the Author show. Your financial donations allows us to bring self-published authors from around the country, around the world, straight to you. And here's the great news. All of your donations are tax deductible. We appreciate your generous contributions. And when you become a partner by giving monthly, you are entitled to benefits, perks, and special deals. Thank you in advance for your support, your love, and your financial gifts. Again, this is Galeen with the Let's Meet the Author show. Have a great one. Bye.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for staying tuned in to Let's Meet the Author with Audrey Williams. Audrey, I wanted to just talk to you about a topic in this book that kind of was an eye-opener for me. You talked about how when you were younger, I believe the age was about 11, how you sat in your room listening to music, contemplating suicide. Now, I have a 10-year-old daughter, so when I read that opened me up. So I just like for our viewers to just get to hear from you as an 11-year-old Audrey, what you experienced at that time, what made you even think about it at that time, and how you overcame it.
Once again, prayer, even because I've been going to church my whole life. So prayer helps get over the spirit of loneliness, the spirit of depression, and the spirit of suicide. At the time, it's like especially if it's more than one sibling, it like happens a little more often. But the feeling of neglect, the feeling as if like you're getting ignored a lot. You know, you can literally be saying something to a parent and another sibling is there and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And they listen to everything to what the other person is saying as if you're invisible. You know, so a lot of times like growing up, I didn't say anything like, oh, well, she just don't talk. No, it wasn't that I wasn't talking. It's just every time I talk, I felt like I was wasting my breath. And even understanding time, even then, you can't get that back. So I just stopped saying stuff. I found myself, you know, holding on to a lot more than I needed to then. Because like if nobody's listening, then it's like, well, I have no choice but to hold on to this stuff. I literally had Barbies. I had my music, but it's like the feeling of neglect is always feeling like you're not, even then, like you feel like you wasn't enough. And it's like you feel like, oh, nobody's listening to me. It feels like I'm not even here. They're like, so why do you want me around if everything is pertaining to another sibling or to somebody else? Or why am I wasting my time talking? You have to literally get delivered from people. And even at a young age, you know, you think 10, 12, 15, right now I'm 33, and you still have to understand getting delivered from people. That's something a lot of people struggle with out of everything else. Don't just free me from me, but free me from people, the opinions of people, the feelings of people. Everybody's not capable of handling you wherever you are, whether a young age or an adult age. So it's like if you have a 10-year-old, making sure you just be attentive to her. Don't be afraid to have conversations with her and actually have no problem, even though you're 10. Matter of fact, mommy wants to listen to you. Every question ain't stupid.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you said that you're worrying about as a woman, I'm going to teach you before the world teaches you. But now it's like, now you have social media for kids. So now it's like, oh, well, I'm dealing with COVID. I'm dealing with masks. I'm dealing with social media. I'm dealing with whether I want to be a man or a woman. Like, because I'm not comfortable with how I was born. So it's like the stuff is different now. Mm-hmm. Jesus, to them, Jesus ain't enough. So you need to do more than quote scriptures now. It needs to be more than just a common conversation. Oh, well, make sure you do your homework. No, when I get home, somebody needs to be raising me. I can't raise myself. You know, so just making sure that whatever your position is in somebody's life, if you are a parent, be that for that child so they won't seek it outside of the home. You know, my mom used to make a statement all the time. I'd be like, what are you talking about? She's like, don't worry about what people say about you. It's about what God knows about you. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me.
And I love how in your book, how you speak about, you know, writing a vision and making it plain and about basically like, hey, I'm getting my life back, reclaiming your life. So, you know, even everything that you've been through in the end, it's, you know, such a positive message. And I mean, we could go on forever about everything that's packed into your book. Where can we find your stuff? Like, we know we can see you on Respect. We know we can look in that choir and look for you, but where can we find your book? Where can we find you? You know, how could the people get connected to Miss Audrey?
The book you can find on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited right now.
Do you have like an Instagram or Facebook?
Oh, I'm on everything. It's not good. I'm on everything. Instagram is Audrey Williams Music. Facebook, I have a Facebook music page.
There's nowhere that you cannot find Miss Audrey Williams, so just look out for her. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
This has been an amazing show. Before we wrap it up, we want to give you an opportunity to go ahead and say your favorite quote from your book. So let's hear up yours.
Come on, Black girl, get up, look up. Your head weighs heaviest when facing the ground.
Nice. Come on, girl, get up.
Get up.
Look up.
Don't go anywhere. The post-show starts now.
We're back, all right, on the post-show of the Let's Meet the Author. I'm Galene.
And I'm Shira.
So I'm a little jealous of you, Shira, you and Tiffany. So if you guys notice, I'm not the one who interviewed Miss Audrey Williams. You guys did.
Yes, and it was amazing. I enjoy every second of it. I was looking at that haircut. Like, look at that.
And the heels.
Shirt.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
I love
Yes.
it.
Audrey,
But this
oh
is
my
Audrey.
goodness. Yes.
Unbothered.
What I loved about her book, so I read her book, but I didn't have the opportunity, and we'll talk about that later, why I didn't get to, so that's why I'm jealous of you guys. You guys got to interview her, is that throughout her book, she was transparent.
Very.
And I loved it, and the way you guys, engaged and you talked, you got her to talk about stuff in the book, stuff that was not in the book, and I loved it. I loved it. Tell us what you guys think, because in her book and on the show, she was very transparent. Audrey was very transparent. She even said something about, hey, if you're going to talk about it, just talk about it. Don't give small details and just kind of glaze over it. Just go into it. And she gave details.
And she too, she's an actress and she's a singer. And I know that she was talking about how she would she would write songs, but songs don't tell the full story.
Right.
So in her book, you get to know the real and get to dive in and know all of the experiences that she went through and how she overcame.
Yep. So I want to know what experiences you went through and pretty much giving your testimony. What experiences you went through? How did you overcome them? If you're still overcoming them, because there's some things that we're still struggling with, right? As a community, as an author, as our viewers, I do know that there's some things that you're overcoming. So drop a comment, and I want to know about it. I want to read about it, and just tell us how you overcoming them. If you overcame it, how did you do it? Pretty much just brag.
Not just to let us know, but you can help other people out there.
Exactly.
So,
I agree. I agree. And also, she mentioned about the impression I got from the interview is that how important having a father figure, an active father figure, because she was, I think, in a 2-parent household, or one father was away, but he was still present by sending gifts and acknowledging that he was there. But having an active parent, a father, or an active mother, because her mom was still there, is very important. And so drop a comment. Even if you came from a 2-parent home, maybe you might have felt neglected, or maybe you was a latchkey kid. I don't know if people still use that phrase. Latchkey kid. When you come home and you gotta pretty much cook for yourself, let yourself in.
Oh, okay.
Am I giving away my age? I might be giving my age away. But we used to call ourselves latchkey kids. So let us know if that still affects you to this day, and if it does, how you overcoming it, or if you were. I want to know how many latchkey kids are out there. And I'm teaching Shira. I'm
something new. But again, this was a very good book, and I would definitely recommend. I know that she's on Amazon. I know that she's also on Facebook and Instagram. We'll get her names out to you so you can go ahead and order her book. But you'll be amazed. I guarantee it.
Yep. And another part that she mentioned in the book was there's sometimes you go through struggle and family puts that struggle in there. That part when you about mentioning, I was like, oh my gosh, that's an ouch.
About her nose, pinching your nose to make it smaller.
Yeah. So I want you guys to drop a comment that sometimes there are certain struggles and stuff that you go through that maybe family or friends put on you. So go ahead and drop a comment in there. We want to hear about it. All right. So again, don't forget, you guys can also participate, be a part of the Let's Meet the Author.
Yes.
All right. And how is by showing your love, your support, by donating. Any amount is appreciated. It really is.
And again, it's able to be, any donation is able to be tax written off. So that's a bonus as well.
That's right. That's right. All right. We'll see you soon. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Until next time, this is the Let's Meet the Author Show post-show show. And I'm Galene.
And I'm Shira. Bye-bye.
Bye.